What's going on, everybody? My name is what is this? That's who? Why?
Let's talk about amusement parks, like rides and rides in the dark. Rides right here and rides all over, but mostly coasters, mostly coasters. We'll talk about all kind of things, but mostly coasters.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Mario, and today I'm going to be ranking and reviewing all of the rides at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I figured why not do this since I just recently posted the vlogs for Fiesta Texas, and to be completely transparent, we didn't get on all 10 coasters. Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster and Superman Crispy Coaster, brought to you by Krispy Kreme. Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster and Superman Krypton coaster were both closed, so we didn't get on those. Although I have been on Railblazer at California's Great America, which delivers a nearly identical ride experience. And just to make it a nice even top 10, I'm also going to include where I think I would put Superman Krypton coaster if I were able to get on it. It won't be the most accurate top 10 list, but it won't be a top 9 list either. So that's good. And to start things off, at number 10, quite a bad ride, one of my least favorites ever, we have Boomerang Coast to Coaster. It at least has an original name though, so I'll give it points there. I can't think of a single other coaster in the chain that has that name. There's not really much to say about this. I mean, if you guys have been on a Boomerang, it's pretty much the same as that, if not one of the worst ones, quite frankly. Super rattly, smacks your back, smacks your head. That's it. Moving right along to number 9. Pretty sure it's another clone. However, this one is slightly enjoyable, despite the fact that it is Kitty Coaster, and I'm sure you can probably guess what the ride is based off me saying that. It's Kitty Coaster, another creatively named ride. But this is actually kind of fun. It's a nice, smooth ride. It's nice and mild for the kids. I don't think adults are allowed on it, but there was no line for it, so when we asked if we could ride it, they said sure, so that's pretty cool at least. You go over like a little koi pond, nothing special. It's just a kiddie coaster. So number 9 is Kitty Coaster. All right, moving along to number 8, we got Roadrunner Express. Now I would like to put it higher up on this list, but we didn't have the best experience leading up to actually getting on the ride. First of all, we rode this after an insanely long travel day. We had about a 15-minute station wait since there was only one train, so that was a little bit annoying. Also, the operations on it were just slow in general. So that definitely may have affected my mindset going into it, and since we didn't get a re-ride, I don't have the best memory of it, but it is still a really cool ride. It's very unique compared to other mine trains. It's definitely smoother than almost every other mine train I've been on. It doesn't have those bad transitions that almost every aero coaster has, so it definitely gets points there, but it's just not quite enough to put it higher than number 8 on this list. All right, next up is Pandemonium at number 7. Pandemonium is one of those classic Gerstlauer spinning coasters. This one isn't particularly different than the rest, other than the fact that it has the setting of Fiesta Texas. Even though it is another clone, I actually did have one of my better spinning coaster experiences on this. This ride does have a really weird loose article policy where you actually have to take everything on the ride with you. So Javi and I had all of our stuff in our hands when we were going to go in the ride, preparing to put it off to the side or in a bin or somewhere. So we just had everything jumbled in our hands. And along with that, it was only the 2 of us in the train. So when you sit across from each other in the Gerstlauer spinners, that apparently gets you the most spins. So it was a super spinny ride. We were freaking out because we didn't know if we were going to lose all of the stuff that we had in our hands, but we did have fun on it. However, that was one particular ride experience. That doesn't make the ride itself anything special. Number 7 on the list is where it goes. And at number 6, we have Goliath. No, not that Goliath. No, not that Goliath either. Definitely not that Goliath. There we go. Fiesta Texas has a lot of clones, but this is actually one of the better Batman the Ride B&M invert clones. I think I'm also biased because I really like the color scheme of it. I think that new paint job looks fantastic, and it is one of the smoother Batman the Ride inverts out there, especially considering the fact that it was relocated from Six Flags New Orleans. A lot of times relocated coasters can be a little bit rougher in the new location, but this one held up pretty well. And breaking into the top 5, we actually have another Batman the Ride coaster. This one, Batman the Ride. Not a B&M invert, but a 4D free spin. My personal favorite 4D free spin out of the 3 that I have been on. It has more flip-inducing fins on it than the others of its model at Six Flags Over Texas and Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. So I definitely like that aspect of it. So it actually gives it quite a big edge over the other coasters of its model. Other than that, there's not much to say about it. If you've been on a 4D free spin, you understand the ride ride experience. I will quickly say that I do really like these models. The way that they flip you is very forceful and whippy, which could potentially lead to an uncomfortable ride experience depending on how you feel about them. But I personally love them. That's why this coaster is pretty high up considering that it is a clone. All right, and at the sort of imaginary number 4 spot, we have the first of the 2 coasters that I was not able to get on, and this is Superman Krypton coaster. Unfortunately, this was one of my most anticipated coasters going into my Texas trip, and we weren't able to get on it. Some of the things that just from an observational perspective that I really love about this ride is the quarry wall interaction. That's obviously one of my favorite things about Iron Rattler, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And just to go on another coaster that has that sort of level of terrain interaction would have been awesome. Not to mention that it is one of the largest scale B&M floorless coasters out there. Speaking of the layout though, I do absolutely love that sort of helix that it dives up onto the quarry wall. Yeah, that really banked turn that does that loop and then you drop back off the quarry wall. That part looks really awesome. And plus you have one of the tallest loops in the world. So really want to get on this ride. But I do think one of the things that could potentially move it down whenever I do get the chance to ride it is that it tends to be a little bit shaky from what I've heard. Now, I'm somebody that really likes Rougarou. In the back row, I have not had a shaky ride on it, although in the front it looks to have terrible vibration. So I really don't know where I'm going to land on the whole Superman Krypton coaster shakiness scale. I do think Scream at Magic Mountain is shaky in just about every row, if that gives you any perspective. So it is currently in the imaginary number 4 spot, although it could move up or down depending on how shaky it is whenever I do eventually get to ride it. And at number 3, kind of high up on this list, considering it is another clone. One of my favorite clones though, which you would know if you watch this video. But this is Poltergeist. Poltergeist is a Premier LIM, I think. I'm pretty sure LIM. One of those spaghetti bowl coasters. So you launch off into just a pile of tracks and supports. You get some really good forces after that first launch going into the first inversion. Now on these models normally after the first launch and after the first few elements, the ride really tends to fizzle out a little bit until it finally picks up at the end. However, on Poltergeist specifically, the launch, I'm thoroughly convinced that it is faster than any of the other spaghetti bowl models. So instead of just sort of meandering through the top section before it dips back down into the structure, you're actually going at a pretty good pace. You get a little pop of airtime over the airtime hill, which if you look at off-ride footage of any of the other spaghetti bowl coasters, those trains just barely make it over the airtime hill. You also don't have a mid-course brake run on Poltergeist, which is fantastic. So when you do get to sort of that last third of the ride, you are flying, pulling crazy laterals, crazy positives. And if you like intense coasters, I think you'll definitely love Poltergeist, which is why I have it at number 3. All right, now we're getting into the top 2, which if you know the coasters at Fiesta Texas, we got Wonder Woman and Iron Rattler. I think there's a pretty even distribution of people that prefer one over the other. But me personally, at number 2, I put Iron Rattler. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. I do not like it at all when people say, oh, this is a weaker RMC. But since Iron Rattler gets so much praise as one of the better RMCs, I am going to say, oh, this is a weaker RMC. It is personally the lowest on my list compared to all other RMCs. Now, it is still like in my top 20, I think. So it is still a fantastic ride. But I just have to admit that I was slightly disappointed. All that being said, that this ride still has a ton to offer. That first drop is awesome. It has that lateral whip to it, as well as great ejector airtime in the back row. If you're sitting in the front, the views are incredible, like diving down towards the water, flying right next to the quarry wall, diving through that tunnel, whether the lights are on or off is an awesome experience too. And then some people complain about the pacing of this ride, but as someone that's a bit of an IRAT hater, if you will, I actually really like the section on top of the quarry wall. Sure, those elements are kind of small, but I feel like it takes those elements with enough speed for them to be relatively forceful. For example, I feel like one of the stronger pops of airtime is on that first bunny hill when you make it on top of the wall. It has sort of an outer banked section that is really fun, that if you're sitting on the right side, sort of flings you out of your seat as well. So when people talk about bad pacing on this ride, I sort of just disregard that because I think this ride has pretty good pacing. And then that drop off of the quarry wall is really fun too, although I don't think it's one of the best ejector airtime moments out there. It is still super fun. Oh, also the trains are incredible, and sort of the overall aesthetic of this ride is really awesome. But great ride, number 2, which means number 1 is Wonder Woman. No, not that Wonder Woman. Not that one either, okay? There we go, that one. Obviously, since I didn't get on this specific Raptor, I'm going to be talking about my experience on Railblazer. Again, really disappointed that this was closed on the trip. Railblazer is one of my favorite roller coasters. I do tend to prefer rides that are longer, but for a 30-second ride to pack this much intensity is just bonkers. Some of the, if not the strongest ejector airtime of any coaster I've been on. Intense positives in that helix. And when it comes to pacing, very few rides do it better than these RMC Raptor models. I don't think there's that many differences between the two. I've heard that Wonder Woman runs a little bit smoother, although Railblazer is still incredibly smooth. Some say that Wonder Woman feels more open, as where, you know, Railblazer, you have those near miss elements. So I do think I would prefer Railblazer, but most people think they're very, very comparable ride experiences. But yeah, Wonder Woman, or Railblazer rather in this case, fantastic ride. Even though Wonder Woman and Railblazer are not the exact same coaster, I do have Railblazer quite a few spots higher up in my overall coaster rankings than Iron Rattler, so I definitely feel good about putting Wonder Woman on the top of the list of coasters at Fiesta Texas. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. It is so much appreciated. I know I don't have a ton of views, but I really appreciate the support from those of you that do keep coming back and watching. It means a lot to me. It's super fun making these videos and, you know, having a bit of a conversation. So let me know what you think about how I ranked these coasters. Let me know your personal rankings down below in the comments. Go ahead and subscribe if you want more content like this. I am going to be doing a top 10 coasters in Texas overall very soon. Don't forget to give the video a like if you liked it, 2 dislikes if you didn't like it. Just so that, you know, if you don't like it, you gotta let me know. So go ahead and give it 2 of those, all right? But with all that being said, this is the end of the video.